Northwest Police are on the lookout for those behind the killing of 9 people at the Popo Molefe informal settlement just outside Rustenburg. So the group was drinking, we're told, when gunmen opened fire on them. 8 other patrons were injured. Authorities say a special task team has now been established and that arrests are imminent. This is the latest incident in a scourge of mass shootings in this country. Let's get you a sense of what we should make of this. Bring in criminal law expert Ian Allis, who joins us via our video link this Monday morning. Great to have you on the program as always, Ian. Thanks very much indeed for making time. And I wonder what you make of this particular incident, given the fact that in some ways we've seen the story before, right? People supposedly out enjoying a good day or evening of drinking and coming under, fire, so to speak, with no real indication of what the motive may have been.
Good morning, Ayanda, and good morning to the viewers as well. Unfortunately, this seems to be on the increase more than on the decrease as far as these type of mass shootings and mass killings are going. And that's maybe taking into account your smaller non-group related shootings. What's actually becoming more of a frightening statistics is becoming this with the public, with a public nature, where it's people getting shot and killed in the streets, in public areas. Just this brazen attack on normal citizens, and that is where there's actually something more that needs to be taken a look at. Is, are we all safe? What is next? Is the actual increase in this type of public shooting and mass shooting, and it is certainly getting worse. And the problem is they're talking about another task team and another special unit, but all of this talk is generating very little as far as public safety and the actual dispensing of justice relates.
Absolutely. Public confidence also taking a massive hit, given just how many of these incidents have taken place and how few arrests there've been. But you speak about this team that's been put together, and part of what I was hoping to ask you about is whether or not these teams actually work. I mean, what's distinctive about the work that's going to be done by this team versus the work done by, any other sort of group of police officers who are looking into this case?
Well, the problem is, and I think I actually commented on this in a similar program, where we suddenly losing the number of police officers as well. That also dents one's confidence in the quality of these teams. Who are they actually composed of? Because there's been such a massive brain drain from the police itself of experienced detectives and higher-ranking officials. I can't see this unit being made up of anything more than the lower level, relatively new police officials with the occasional senior detective and unit supervisor thrown in. So I honestly can't see the success being as expeditious as what anybody's in actual fact saying.
Yeah, I mean, it might be an obvious question given what you just said, but I mean, are you confident that we'll be able to find these gunmen who, according to the latest police statements, are still on the run?
Let me put it to you this way. I have more faith in the Proteas recovering in their next one-day international.
I'm not sure if the Proteas should take heed of that or if, we should take notice of that itself, but yeah.
The problem is, Ayanda, and that is something else that people aren't realizing, and that is the artillery that these guys are using. They're not going in there with small handheld guns. They're going in there with fully automatic rifles and artillery. So the fact where they're getting this stuff from in itself is a concern, because it's not easily distributed on the street unless there's illegal rackets involved in it. So there's a lot more behind these than one actually goes ahead and just takes a look at from a superficial level. And at this present moment, an inexperienced task team is certainly not going to go ahead and bust this, especially if half the time the police artillery is what's actually being used because the stations are getting robbed.
Sure. The obvious question then becomes, Ian Allis, what do South Africans do now? You know, it almost sounds to me like we're all just sitting ducks waiting for the next incident where a group of gunmen will walk in wherever we're sitting and just open fire with the confidence and knowledge that they're likely to get away with it.
The biggest problem that we face now is going to be from a security point of view, and just looking at experience, they tend to go ahead and hit more outside areas, and these are where there's easy access, unless it's in the case of a robbery. So people generally be a little bit safer if they are in more indoor areas, such as contain shopping malls, where there's a lot less exposure on the streets, and unfortunately in their houses, we're going to become almost a lockdown society in a different type of way to what we were previously. But this is because of the safety and security. That's something that's not going to change, and it's probably going to get a little bit worse as our police force deteriorate.
Yeah, I mean, the police, not commissioner, the Elias Mawela has spoken about he's concerned, I beg your pardon, around the proliferation of guns within Gauteng more specifically. And I think it's a concern shared by some of his counterparts across the country, right? The fact that there are just so many guns on the loose and we're not quite sure where they're coming from, and more importantly, where they eventually end up. It sounds to me that we won't get a fighting chance at solving this issue without, resolving issues around just how many guns are in circulation without the police's knowledge.
The problem is we're not dealing with an issue there with legal guns. We're dealing with an issue of illegal guns, right, and the sources of these illegal guns. So the problem is actually coming is what are the police actually doing about it, and how much of this is through, in all due respect, ineptitude and corruption with regards to where these guns are coming from. The fact is that you can't go to your gunsmith and buy an automatic rifle. You can't go and buy yourself an AK-47 and R5. That's specifically reserved for certain industries, and you can't just get that get that in the normal course. The problem is, where are they getting these from? And unfortunately, a lot of it is military grade, so it's falling through the fingers of our defence force. It's falling through our fingers of our police services, and through other members of our army. And realistically, that is something that needs to be looked at. It's not the commissioner and the minister can't just look elsewhere and say, oh, well, there's gun control issues. They need to look internally at their own people who are actually allowing these to end up on the streets. And that's where the thing comes. It doesn't become just an issue of gun control. It's what guns are being utilized. And those are not guns available to the public.
Yeah, absolutely. What happened this weekend is a combination of so many different issues coalescing in the way that they have. Ian Allis, as always, thanks very much indeed for your take. Really do appreciate your insight on the AM report this Monday morning. Ian Allis, of course, a criminal law expert. And Elias Mawela, of course, is Gauteng Police Commissioner. I beg your pardon for that error.